The Alberta government is creating guidelines for what books are allowed in school libraries. It says several books with inappropriate content were discovered in schools across the province. As CTV's Nicole Weisberg reports, some books are already being removed from school shelves.
I would show these images to all of you here and to the media, but they are too graphic for a live stream media event.
Images, Alberta's education minister says, were found in books in school libraries across the province. Content CTV News was provided, but deemed inappropriate to air.
Graphic depictions of activity and nudity. A group of parents approached me and provided me with excerpts from many of these books.
The province pointing to content in 4 graphic novels found in schools, including those in the Edmonton Public.
I want to see that again.
Those books?
Yes. So let's see here. Genderqueer. Yeah.
I've seen some of
those. Those are bad.
Got two women having one of them sucking the strap on. And this is a kid's book. These are kids' books.
Genderqueer is a memoir written and illustrated by Maya Kababi. Just the about on Google says that it is about exploring gender identity and sexuality. And ultimately identifying as being outside of the gender binary. Why the fuck is that in school? Why? Why is that in school?
No need for any children to learn about gender identity, which no matter what you ask a far left or trans activist, if you ever ask them what exactly is gender identity, any answer they ever give you will always boil down to some version of based stereotypes. It will always be something like, well, girls wear dresses. Therefore, if you wear a dress, you're a girl, you're a woman, even if you're a man. The trans activists, they claim to be obliterating gender norms, but they're actually strictly enforcing gender norms. They're the ones that'll say, oh, if a young boy plays with a doll, he's not actually a young boy. He's a girl because only girls play with dolls.
So this one, I'm going to need to look into it because it seems that it is a coming of age autobiography. The book tells the story of Thompson's childhood in an evangelical Christian family, his first love and early adulthood. That is blankets. But I like how the first comment, if you're wearing a mask on your profile picture right then and there, it tells me a lot about you. Listen to this. The book was made for adults. If that person with a mask and a hoodie on their profile picture saying that it was made for adults, why the is it in school? Hey, flamer. Do you think it's about a fireman? Or is it?
No, it ain't.
They're all somewhat autobiography. It's a semi-autobiography. In a Boy Scout summer camp, it tells the story of Aiden, who is bullied for his appearance, including acting in a matter considered stereotypical of gay men. And Fun Home, a family tragicomic. I've never heard that expression before.
Tragicomedy? I guess a tragedy in a comedy.
Yeah, I guess so.
So the gist of it is these do not belong in schools. Let kids find out about the same way the rest of us did, fumbling around in the dark with our girlfriends and boyfriends when we're 15 and 16, or making out in the woods behind the AAA. Like that's the tried and tested way to figure out what you like. You don't need to teach kids how to have correctly. You do not need to teach kids how to each other. They can, if they want to do those things when they're adults, trust me, they'll figure it out. I'm perfectly fine with zero sex education whatsoever. At the same time, if you want to go to high schools and say, a class once a year on actual, say, how to protect yourself or how to avoid being pregnant, I don't have an issue with that. I have a huge problem in telling kids how to have the ways to pleasure themselves and other people, and implant the idea in their mind that human beings can change sex, and you can be any sex you want, because you cannot be. You can't choose your height. You can't choose your eye color. You can't choose your sex. There's just some things in life we don't have the ability to control.
I just don't understand why the is it relevant to children? Why is it such a taboo for parents to say, I do not want this type of garbage to be shown to my kid? There is a difference between talking about biology, actual human body, and relating it to this should be left to the parent. And you know what's the worst part out of all of this is I'm an expecting parent. My wife is going to be giving birth within the next month and a half or so. And you know what? This is the reason why our kid will never go to public school.
No.
If he has questions, you know who he should come talk to? Me, my wife. You have questions? We're your parents. I don't pay taxes to have teach my children about what they think is important. You think that Muslims in school are going to allow for this type of shit? Of course not. Are you kidding me? Are they considered bigots?
And they're not. They're allowed to be oppose it because
Of course.
their religious
Of
concerns
course.
are actually matter. But if as a white
Yeah.
guy you oppose it, you're just a homophobic bigot. This one's called Granddad's Pride. It is
Of course.
a book for children
Of course.
for 3 to 6. 3 to 6. Here's Granddad, just looking like a normal granddad. Here's Granddad at Pride in fetish gear. Who the thinks this is appropriate for a 3-year-old to see? It's all about pushing an ideology on kids. And, you know, if you want to teach your kids that, that's perfectly fine. But you do not have the right to teach anyone else's kid that shit is normal. I'm all for weirdos and being abnormal. But do not tell me that Granddad wearing his fetish leather gear and making out with a dude at Pride is any sense of normal. I think Granddad should have the right to do that if he so chooses, but by no means should we be teaching 6-year-olds that that's any type of normal, reasonable behavior whatsoever. As you said, no problem teaching biology, the body. I think that's appropriate, age appropriate stuff. The line should be when they start teaching kids about how to actually have pleasure. It boggles the mind that we got to this point where saying, maybe we don't need to be teaching 12-year-olds how to stick things in their assholes for pleasure. Maybe we don't need to do that. And people will call you a bigot for saying that. And it's like, we're in La La Land, man. How the did we get here?
My grandfather taught me how to fish, but that world is gone. Like, we did not have the same type of
we're not the same
childhood.
Right? And that's what Grandpa's Pride should have been. Teaching his grandkids how to fish, teaching his grandkids about the world, not teaching his grandkids how to be sexually deviant degenerates and wear fetish gear at public parades. Like, come on now.
Can you honestly tell me, and I'm talking to you behind your phone right now, look at the titles that are there. Look at the covers. Does that look like the type of books you want your children to be reading at school?
No.
Nonetheless, just look at the titles. Just look at the picture on the covers. Flamer with the 3. Does that mean something? I don't understand. Like,
it's a gay slur usually.
Of course it is.
Look at those flamers over there. They always.
No, that's true. Because when I call people homosexuals, I always do this. That's true.
Including those in the Edmonton Public Division. Now it says it plans to create guidelines to ensure age-appropriate book selection. It has launched an online survey.
And those are kids. Let me point that out. This is not a teenager.
Look at this child. Look at this child. She's what is she? 4, 5?
She's in school at least 5 or 6, I would have to say.
Yep.
We're not even talking teenagers here. Like, this is CTV. We're not talking about a right-wing media that's trying to demonize everybody. That's CTV News, and they're showing literally the video of what looks like a 5-year-old. And even the guy that's in the background there don't look much more than 8 or 9 years old. Those are not teenagers, 18 years old, that are about to go to college here. We're talking about kids in elementary school. So don't give me this that, maybe they're old enough. Yeah, no, clearly not.
For Albertans to have a say.
We want to ensure transparency for parents so that they know what is available in their school library.
Dare you?
And to have a process for complaints and concerns about book materials and other library materials.
The Edmonton Public School.
So they want to be aware of what the problems are, and they want to give an opportunity to the parents to actually complain. How dare they? You're not allowed to.
Ridiculous, right? How dare these bigots? No, I'm not a bigot. I don't care what you do. Just don't teach my kid about it. How dare you? I don't want you teaching my kid how to have weird. It's not appropriate, man. How the fuck did we get here? We're bigots. We're bigots for it. This is one of the things that first started me to go against, like, to really open my eyes about what's going on with left-wing ideology is this right here. Leave the kids alone. Do whatever the you want as an adult.
They're making it sound like it's a big deal for parents to complain. How dare they have an avenue where they can let us know that we don't like what we're seeing? Are you kidding me? Taxpayers' money and their kids. How dare you have an opinion? How dare you tell us how to raise your children?
They're genuinely shocked. How could you want to protect your kid from this enlightening LGBTQ LMNOP education? You're a bigot, you know. Oh, you hate gay people, you hate trans people. No, I just don't want my kid to be taught how to have degenerate. If he wants to have degenerate sex as an adult, I promise you he'll figure it out. Like every
I don't
other
want my kids to be taught about at all.
It's
fuck the crazy weird that I don't want.
I'm with you.
Don't teach my kids about
even like masturbation. There's no need for them to learn about masturbation or anything like that. They'll figure it out the way we all did, the way every single human being who has ever lived figures it out.
Division declined an interview, but in a joint statement with the Calgary Public School Division says this announcement has come as a complete surprise to both our boards. And both our divisions follow established, rigorous processes to ensure that library resources are age appropriate and relevant for students.
Age appropriate.
Does that look age appropriate to you?
Yeah.
Look where they froze it. Does that look age appropriate?
And look at this book here on the left, Gender Queer. Can you just remove that? I'm just going to show you a picture from Gender Queer.
Is it a bad picture?
No, I mean it's
does it show anything? Is it censored? Like, is there?
No, there's nothing censored. But I mean, at the end of the day, if they're going to show it to our kids, how the could they censor us from adults talking about it on the show?
I have seen videos where parents went to complain at the school boards, and the school board refused to see the pictures because it was age inappropriate.
There's a child in our boardroom, so I'd like for you to please stop reading that.
This one couple stumbled into my room and asked if they could use the room anyway with me still in it. They closed the door and started kissing. After a few minutes, the boy's hand went up the girl's shirt and she started protesting. Pretty soon, he took off her bra and started to kiss her breasts. And then he put his hand down her pants and she started moaning. He reached to take off her pants, but she started crying really hard. So he reached for his own. He pulled his pants and underwear down to his knees. Please, Dave, no. But the boy just talked soft to her about how good she looked, and she grabbed his with her hands and started moving it. The boy pushed the girl's head down, and she started to kiss his. She was still crying. Finally, she stopped crying because he put his in her mouth, and I don't think you can cry in that position. I ask you why this book has survived 2 attempts.
Your time is up. Thank you so much. And there's a child in our boardroom, so I'd like for you to please stop reading that.
The parents are like, I'm here exactly for that.
That's infuriating.
We can't show that. We can't talk about this because it's too. So that's been going on for years. I've seen so many of those videos, and I'm like, if I had hair, I would have ripped them out. I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to keep my only YouTube channel ever not to get destroyed and banned like most of my other socials.
Well, I mean, I don't think they ban us for this because, again, they're demanding we show it to kids. But just to be on the safe side, it's fine. But it's in that book, Gender Queer. It's basically a graphic novel about how to have lots of weird.
Gender Queer is a story about a trans girl and an older boy, and it's full of pictures of them giving each other oral all throughout the book. Your high school students, by the way, are like 14 when they first get to high school.
The picture I'm looking at is a woman with short hair who thinks she's a man sucking on the fake of another woman.
We can definitely not show that.
Yeah. Well, there's your visual. That shows how insane it is. We are adults having an adult show talking about it, and we can't show it, but we are not allowed to object to them showing it to us.
Because you're a bigot. You're a bigot.
Or you're a bigot. You're a homophobe. Something has gone terribly, terribly wrong here. and we all need to give our heads a shake and wake the fuck up.
Edmonton, the books have been temporarily pulled from school library shelves for review.
One of my concerns when we start pulling books from shelves is, where does it end? It's a slippery slope.
Oh, you know where they're going to go? Nazi book burning. They automatically go there. Like, oh, if you remove those books, what's next?
What's next?
Biology? Science? Hey.
It's not a slippery slope. It's really easy to say, okay, well, do those science books have explicit content between?
Yes. No, thank you.
No, it doesn't. Okay, then we won't ban them. It's not hard. There's no slippery slope. We don't need to pretend this is more difficult than it is. If it involves putting things in bodily orifices, putting things in bodily orifices, you don't need to show it to kids. It's not hard.
Actually, it is hard if you're putting it into things. Let's try to finish the video.
Got the weirdest right now.
Let's hear how this
finish
is Nazi book burning, and it will never end, right? The dictionary is next.
How could we ever stop?
No, we can't. We can't. Obviously,
we can't. Once you ban one book, we must burn every single book that's ever existed.
100%.
We do not have the cognitive ability to make those kind of distinctions. Said by the same people who don't know what the difference between a man and a woman. So I guess, if you don't know the difference between a man and a woman, maybe it is hard for you. Maybe you don't understand how you can do it. For the rest of us with IQs over room temperature, we know how to be able to separate the bullshit that you shouldn't show kids from normal books. It's not hard. All right,
and here's a proof. All those books have nothing to do with all of them. I have hundreds of them behind me. Just saying, books exist that have nothing to do with sexuality. Just
so you know, so obsessed they don't think books exist. All right, let's try to finish this video.
Where does it end? It's a slippery slope that we get on, and I'm worried.
Oh, he said it.
Into a myriad of book challenges and book bannings that we see happening south of the border, happening here.
You're right. You nailed it.
Survey is open until the end of next week.
Oh, where does it end? Where does it end?
It ends when Grandpa is not wearing leather fetish gear, making out at Pride. That's where it ends. You know, it's not hard. They're making it sound so hard, and it's so easy.
You know, he is very hard.
He is. This guy is.
You
got to check that guy's hard drive, man.
With the goal of having the new guidelines in place by next fall.
Kind of proves my point. It's probably just biology book with a human diagram.
It isn't.
Sure.
It isn't.
Oh, sure. Gender queer is all about biology. Sure. What fits in what hole? Do you consider that biology?
That's the normie position, though. The normie position is no. I'm sure it's fine. That's the thing. That's why it's
never
important.
Looked at it.
That's why it's important for us to have these conversations, and why it's important for us to show where we can, without getting banned, to show what they're actually talking about. Because most normies who will, if they just see that video, will be like, "Oh, that's terrible, book banning. Oh, where will it end? Slippery slope." Because you'll notice they had the covers, but that was it. They never delved into it. They never opened those books. Because if the normies saw it, even the normies would be like, "Well, I'm appalled. This is
absolutely disgusting." Would be probably exactly the normie reaction. Right there.
Yep.
But 100%. See, so when is the fascist province of Alberta separating from Canada? So basically, if I don't agree that you should be showing this to children,
you're a fascist.
I'm a fascist.
Well, it's just like I'm a far right Nazi because I don't think women can have a. So you know,
if you're a far right Nazi, I am just.
Oh, you're not even. You're so far right. You're on the far left. You came back on the other side.
No, but it's impossible. I'm a flat earther. So
yeah. Oh, that's right.
See, it never. Oh, fuck, it never. That was a joke, but that never ends, right?
Yeah, it never does.
But at least I'm just happy to see expose the author and bookmakers to protect the children. Yeah. It is a slippery slope on banning books. Maybe it is a slippery slope before you start having porn material. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Do they have Mein Kampf? Do they have Mein Kampf in the library? I would say not. And if you try to put it in there, they would ban it, right? Yeah. So like they don't consider that book banning because it was never allowed in the first place. But if they allow a book in and then you try to remove it, well, that's book banning. It's just insane woke left logic, right? Or lack thereof of logic. Should we take a few of these
You want
comments?
to take some of those millions of comments?
Yeah,
and-
there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
there.
this
Jason,
is both a subject that you and I just
yeah.
shit over.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do, right? And I think a lot of people get animated by this. Jason says, for a Tuesday, this is a hell of a Monday. I'm with Nico about the birds and the bees being a parental thing. Y'all are on fire. Yeah, that Nico's take is the correct one.
We're flaming.
We're flamers. Hey.
Heyo.
Yeah. The take of teach biology. Absolutely. And some people might disagree and say, don't even teach like how to not get pregnant. Don't even teach safe sex. I have no problem with teaching 17-year-olds safe principles. Sure. But if other people say, no, don't want it all, that's fine too.
Should
but
be
no
allowed
matter,
to opt out.
yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to
100%.
show this, if I disagree, I completely disagree that my kids should not be taught that. But if you think yours should and you agree to the curriculum, I disagree. Just take my kid out.
Yeah. At a bare minimum.
Like that is the who can argue with this? Who can argue with the
honestly,
fact that as a parent, I should have the choice to say yay or nay.
I'll even take it one step further and I'll say the default should be out and then have the course available and parents opt in if they want their kid to hear that. I like that better, right? I don't think it should be a default.
Look at Robbie.
Look at the big brain on Robbie. Sasquatch, that child won't read the words, but they will definitely look at the pretty pictures. And you know that's true. I remember going to the library as a 12-year-old, the adult library, and trying to find dirty books. Like kids are going to seek that shit out, right? They're all little creeps, but we don't need to feed into them. We don't need to feed into that shit. And certainly 6-year-olds who are not thinking that shit at all. No. We don't need to be forcing that on them. But if you noticed, all those books, pretty colors, cartoonish, it's clearly designed to capture the attention.
It ain't for me.
No.
That book was not designed for me because you know what? I don't look at the cover of a book. I actually read the back and then I research it to say, oh, maybe that's something I want to read.
Prairie says newsworthy and of public interest. I assume that she means this topic, and I agree. Jason chimes in, when it becomes to being old enough to drink, old enough to drive, old enough to fire a weapon or join the military, sure, that's fine, and I agree.
Yeah.
But right now they're too young to know any better. This, geez, yeah. So 100%. Sasquatch, has anyone noticed how evil the world's gotten in the last 15 years?
Yep.
There's been a huge decline in society. People follow on like dumb sheep.
I don't started on this one.
Yeah, I feel like that's a rabbit hole brewing.
There's a good reason why the woke, socialism, communism always go for one thing first: connection with God, and they try to put themselves there. Because when you start worshiping whatever the fuck you want, that gives you the feeling that you can do whatever the fuck you want. And this is the problem. We don't have any morals as a society anymore.
Nick says, but the Canadian Cancer Society discusses cervical cancer using the word front hole instead of vagina because it's gender neutral. That's ridiculous. I saw that too. And it's funny because they'll be like, oh, it's inclusive language. Well, it isn't inclusive to all the women. Like, how dehumanizing is that to relabel their body parts as a front hole? They also recommended that trans women be screened for cervical cancer. Not because they can actually get it, but because it affirms their gender and it feels good for them. Meanwhile, you've got actual women waiting 6 months or more for a cervical cancer screening, and they have to wait because these men are using up medical resources for a condition that they cannot get because they don't have a cervix.
Look at this. Top Cancer Charity apologizes for using word cervix instead of trans-friendly
front hole. Who gives a fuck about what the trans care about? There's nothing offensive about using proper language, but there is something very offensive about calling women uterus havers and calling their vaginas a front
baby
hole.
carriers.
I don't know how they don't see how misogynistic and anti-women it is, and it's pushed by the people that pretend that they themselves are very supportive of women's rights, who will call people like Nico a misogynist and say Nico hates women. Meanwhile, they're saying, but call vaginas front holes, call them uterus havers, just so we don't hurt the feelings of men who have a mental illness that makes them believe that they're the opposite